How's it going, everyone? Welcome to my new video, and today I want to talk about how the elite is preparing for the upcoming event and what they think it will occur, because I think that most of them don't expect this event to be the most severe one, like crustal displacement and large floods, but some of them some of them are expecting that event, like the ones that are building doomsday bunkers in a higher elevation, or like if you have watched my previous video, you've seen that the 10,000-year clock sponsored by Jeff Bezos is built inside a mountain on a higher elevation. So some of them expect a more severe event, but most of them are expecting, in my opinion, less severe, but nevertheless a civilizational collapse event, which is connected to ground solar minima, but I will talk about that later. So first, let's start with this article, which was published in 2018 by Douglas Rushkoff on his Medium account, and The Guardian has taken that article. And this is a very interesting insight in what the elites are expecting. So let's start. Douglas Rushkoff says that last year he got invited to a super deluxe private resort to deliver a keynote speech to what he assumed will be 100 or so investment bankers. But after his arrival, he says, "I was ushered into what I thought was the grim room, but instead of being wired with a microphone or taken to a stage, I just sat there at a plain round table as my audience was brought to me, and the audience was 5 super wealthy guys from the upper echelon of the hedge fund world and the tech industry." Now, these guys wanted to consult with Douglas Rushkoff about a civilization-ending event. How can they survive that event, and what can they do to survive and thrive after the apocalypse? So one of the questions, which is very interesting, is which region will be less affected by the coming climate crisis, New Zealand or Alaska? So this is a very interesting insight, because they are choosing the places which are right next to the Arctic North Pole and the Antarctic South Pole. Perhaps they expect less severe changes, or they some of them expect those regions to end up in milder zones and survive the event by building very sophisticated doomsday bunkers and trying to preserve the entire human knowledge. Now again, this is very interesting here. Finally, the CEO has asked him, "How do I maintain authority over my security force after the event?" So they are scared. They are scared from their workers and guards, which can take control over their resources after the event. So the logical conclusion for them was making the guards wear disciplinary collars, or maybe building robots to serve as guards and workers if that technology could be developed in time. Now, this was in 2017, and now is the technology being developed in time? Tell me, what do you think? Here's Elon Musk talking about creating 10,000 robots which could do every single job that we are doing it right now. One robot can replace you.
5,000 Optimus robots. We're technically we're aiming for enough parts to make 10,000, maybe 12,000. But since it's a totally new product with totally new, like everything's totally new, I'll say like we're succeeding if we get to half of the 10,000. Now, but even 5,000 robots, that's the size of a Roman legion, FYI, which is like a little scary thought, like a whole legion of robots. I'd be like, whoa, okay. But I think we'll literally build a legion, or at least one legion of robots this year, and then.
So in my opinion, they are building they have released the artificial intelligence in 2002, so the technology can be developed in time for the geophysical event or the event that they are expecting to come, so they can preserve the entire human knowledge inside their bunkers, and they can develop robot workers to serve them in the bunkers and after the apocalypse in their so-called golden age. Maybe I will touch some aspects of the golden age in this video, or maybe I will make another video. But now let's go to another article from 2016, which is an interview with the Y Combinator owner Sam Altman, which was then no one he was not famous in 2016. Maybe he was famous among the billionaires, but not like he's famous today. He's one of the most famous people in the tech industry. And this is an interesting segment from that interview. If the pandemic does come, Altman's backup plan is to fly with his friend Peter Thiel, the billionaire venture capitalist, to Thiel's house in New Zealand. Now, again, this is 2016, and Peter Thiel he is already prepared in New Zealand, and this article comes later, 2017. And they are talking about pandemic in 2016, and the real pandemic, COVID-19, actually hit in 2019. Now read this. He told me, if you believe that all human lives are equally valuable, and you also believe that 99.5% of lives will take place into the future, we should spend all our time thinking about the future. Okay, but then his voice dropped. But I do care much more about my family and friends. He asked me how many strangers I would allow to or would with my own hands, which seemed to him more intellectually honest, in order to spare my loved ones. As I considered this, he said that he'd sacrifice 100,000. I told him that my own tally would be even larger. Now, this is the journalist talking, and this is Sam Altman. Now, think about this. They are talking about some event that is coming, and what are you going to do to preserve the lives of your loved ones and your family, right? Everyone will want to take care of their family. So that's why they are building doomsday bunkers for their families, and they are keeping us, the rest of the world, blinded from the event. And this is all discussed in 2016, and I think no one paid attention then, and frankly no one is paying attention now. This is also interesting part of the interview. Sam Altman is expressing his desire to build a modern metropolis for the elite, run on AI, and this is practically describing the doomsday bunker. Here's the journalist's conclusion. You could imagine this metropolis as an exemplary post-human city-state run on AI, a 21st century Athens, or as a gated community for the elite. And indeed, they plan to build these gated communities for the elite. And this was in 2016. Sam Altman said that he was planning a pilot project to test the feasibility for this experimental city either in America or perhaps somewhere abroad. And what happened next? In 2017, Sam Altman became one of the advisors for the project NEOM and Vision 2030 in Saudi Arabia. And we can see his profile on the web page of NEOM here, published in 2017, saying Sam Altman, president of YC Group and co-chairman of OpenAI. Altman is an American entrepreneur, investor, programmer, and blogger. He was named the top investor under 30 by Forbes in 2015 and one of the best young entrepreneurs in technology. So Sam Altman is part of the project NEOM, which is essentially his wish that he has expressed in the 2016 article. So we can see that what essentially Project NEOM is a doomsday city built inside two large, gigantic 500-meter walls, which will shield the city from the outside environment and create its own environment inside the city. Maybe it will shield the city from a giant wave, who knows. Inside that project NEOM and Saudi Vision 2030 there are multiple cities, and here I will mention only NEOM and this one, which was started I think they start building this project called Aquelum in 2024, which will be an embedded city inside a mountain. This will be the city, this entire area. They are digging this mountain and they will build the city. It's kind of like underground doomsday bunker, like those built in Turkey, the ancient city of Derinkiru. I don't know how it's pronounced, but I will make another video about this. So why is NEOM so important and no one is paying attention? Because it's founded by all these corporations, even governments like Great Britain. And so far, we can see articles alleging that over 21,000 people have died working on Saudi Vision. Now, remember what Sam Altman said? How many people are you willing to step over to save your family? Now, the elites are basically don't care about the workers. So this city to be built in America, it's impossible. There are unions, but in Saudi Arabia, perhaps is more easier to do these kinds of stuff. So maybe that's why they have chosen this location. Now we can see that the UK government is especially supportive of this project. It is investing and actively seeking new investors. This is an official document signed for strategic partnership for Vision 2030 between the UK government and Saudi Arabia and their funds. One of the strategic partners and investors in NEOM and Vision that is building the defense system. This is very important for them to have a defense system to defend maybe after and before the event, is one of the biggest American military contractors, Lockheed Martin. This is also official from their page. So we can see that Oracle and Nvidia are building large data centers for AI because they need their cities to run on AI and to preserve the entire human knowledge. This is Sam Altman, and of course Microsoft invests $2 billion in Saudi cloud facility, which are connected to the city of NEOM. Blackstone and BlackRock are also here. We can see from the official announcements. Blackstone to large 40 billion infrastructure investment vehicle and new infrastructure business, together with the Saudi investment PIF. The first place that Donald Trump visited after his election in 2016 was, of course, Saudi Arabia, and I think this was the time when the deal was made for all to invest in NEOM, like experimental city, and one of the potential places to survive the geophysical event. We can see Sam Altman and Donald Trump again after the second term of Donald Trump, perhaps discussing further about the development of this project. Okay, so this was like an introduction in what the elites are trying to do to prepare for the upcoming event. I should make a more in-depth video only talking about how they are preparing, but now I want to show you what the elite is expecting to occur and why they are building those cities like NEOM, who can control and create their own environment with artificial intelligence. This is Dr. John L. Casey, former space program consultant, National Space Policy Advisor to the White House and Congress, NASA headquarters consultant, and space shuttle engineer. He was part of the mainstream scientific narrative, and as you can see, he worked for the government. But once he started talking about this event, he was sidelined. Here's what he has to say.
Okay, now we're back to the questions about, okay, what do we do now? How do we prepare for this new cold era? And thank you for asking all those questions. Prepare for record cold, food shortages, rationing, civil unrest, international conflict. All we have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is go back and look at history. That's all we have to do to understand what's going to happen in the future. This cold era has begun. All we have to do is go back and look at what happened before. What did happen before? We lost crops on a global scale. People starved and froze to death on a global scale. And that was when they were more resilient, more reliable. We now have almost 50 million people on food stamps, totally dependent on the government for food. What's going to happen with those 50 million people when we run out of food? What's going to happen with everyone in this room when you go to the Publix and there's no bread on the shelves? Because it was either looted the night before or bought out the night before. What happens in these events? One of the first things that happens when everyone recognizes the crops just got wiped out by a cold front in the spring or before harvest, what happens? Panic. Panic. Their panic will come because the President of the United States is telling us we only have global warming. We don't need to be worried or prepare for global cooling. Therefore, everyone will be totally unprepared unless you hear and believe and convey this message to your friends and family, which I recommend you do strongly. Panic will be the first step.
So basically what Dr. John L. Casey is saying here, that after global warming comes the global cooling period, which they are not telling you. And of course, I have shown that there is evidence that all those past events associated with geomagnetic excursions also had that global warming, then flip-flop and global cooling period. I have already shown you this video when Donald Trump in 2020 says it will get cool again, just watch. And after in 2024 the scientists started talking about the collapse of the ocean currents, which will cause that global that cooling mainly in the northern hemisphere, but that will be cause a civilizational collapse, because it will trigger a chain of reaction which will lead to many things, and one of them is global hunger. We also have this former Bush administration official, Catherine Austin Fitz, talking on the Tucker Carlson show that the elites are afraid from the solar minimum. And that's what Dr. John L. Casey is talking about, the grand solar minimum, not the regular solar minimum, but the grand solar minimum, which is associated with the reduced sun activity for, let's say, couple of decades, even to couple of from couple of decades to couple of 100 years. When the sun is less active, it reduces its magnetic field, and our solar system is exposed to more cosmic radiation. And there are studies about the upcoming grand solar minimum and little and little ice age, which is expected to hit around 2030 to 2040. So as I said, the grand solar minima is when several solar cycles exhibit less than average activity for decades or centuries. During the last two grand solar minimas, like the one in the 1300s and the one in 536 AD, which resulted with volcanic eruptions as well, the civilization collapsed, and that time is known as the Dark Ages. I have talked about these two events in my Patreon, on my Patreon for my subscribers, and you can read those articles there. But essentially, most of the elites are afraid from the upcoming grand solar minima, which, in combination with the weakening geomagnetic field, the cosmic radiation will hit us even stronger. And of course, there are already studies that suggest that more cosmic radiation can trigger volcanic eruptions. And that has happened in the past, and we have evidence for that. I think they call those events associated with climate change, but they are also associated with civilizational collapse. They call those Bond events, and they happened like every between 1000 and 1500 years, but I will talk about that in another video. So for now, I want to emphasize that the elites are preparing for climate change associated with grand solar minima and the weakening of the geomagnetic field. Many of them are preparing for the worst, but most of them are preparing for civilizational collapse, and they think that they will be safe in their doomsday bunkers. But if the upper layers of the crust slip, like there's evidence that they did in the past, then I don't know if those bunkers will help them survive, unless they are built in a very specific locations. Here we have the global seed vault, which is built on a Norwegian island in the Arctic Circle, known as the global seed vault, on the Svalbard island. And inside this mountain, you can find more than 1 million seeds crucial for human survivals crucial for human survival if the current civilization collapse due to climate change. They have stored these seeds here, and they can rebuild the civilization. Now, like I said, during the Younger Dryas, so this study shows that they assume that the cooling during the Younger Dryas was caused by a partial or total shutdown of the ocean currents, and that's what the scientists are saying today, that the ocean currents are close to the collapse or slowing down, but because of, you know what, human-driven climate change. Here's Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Talking about his
USA?
Well,
this
ranch in Kauai, where there's this whole thing where people were like, there's this whole meme about how people are saying I built this like bunker underground. It's like more of underground storage
Bring
type
it up.
situation, but yeah, no, it's
Oh wow, Zucky got that bunky. What's under the ground is more water, right?
it's basically what you just said. It's sort of a tunnel that just goes to another building.
Yeah.
You have an underground tunnel.
Do you really?
Yeah.
So we can see that Mark Zuckerberg here has an underground storage tunnel, and I think, in my opinion, he is expecting these problems with food chain supply and ground solar minima, so he has built a storage for himself and his family. I don't think he's expecting that crustal displacement or floods. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe this is just a decoy. He has another bunker on a higher elevation. I don't know. I just want to present this theory that today's elite are mostly preparing for the Bond event associated with climate change and global cooling, and that is connected to the axial precession and the geomagnetic excursion. In my next video, I will present the more severe theory about the geophysical event. Let me know what you think about this video. If you want to read my articles about the previous civilizational collapses that are associated with ground solar minima, you can subscribe to my Patreon or my X account, and in that way you are showing me your support with small monthly fee, and that is the only way for my work to continue, because I don't make too much money from ads. And again, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.